The sausage is fed up. It's had it with its monotonous office work. Every morning, it's the same routine. Work, sleep, she spends her days stuck in an office, answering emails, attending endless meetings, listening to her boss give her absurd tasks. She is underpaid, overloaded, and every day seems like a eternity. Every day she is greeted by a pile of files to process and colleagues who seem just as miserable as she is. I can't take it anymore, she said to herself. Suddenly, a mysterious shadow appears in the open space. The hunter walks into the office with confidence. In a flawless suit, he's young and dynamic. He heads straight to his own office. He works efficiently, manages his time brilliantly, and when he talks to his boss, it's with confidence and mutual respect. He quits his job to start his own business. All of this, of course, with respect for his former boss by putting him in his place. For the experiment accumulated, the hunter leaves salaried work satisfied, and 2 years later, he is the CEO of Entrepreneurship. If you follow this personal entrepreneurship sphere a little bit, in which I am part of, you often see the YouTubers, the TikTokers, which contrast employment and entrepreneurship. Like, it's two different things. You have the two life choices, actually. So on one hand, employment, you study, you have degree, you're in the rat race, you take the subway, you're not happy, you work for a boss, you makes less money. And on the other hand, the entrepreneur who has employees, he weighs, he has money, he's free, he has a beautiful wife. All that is really like you have two choices, entrepreneurship. To the life of a businessman and wage slavery, the miserable life, the rat race, all that for me, it's obviously not as simple as that. I already think it's not one path or the other. It's not like you're either an employee or an entrepreneur. That we are no longer in a spectrum. And for me, this spectrum has nothing to do with any legal status. It's not related to what's marked on your tax form. It's not about whether you're an employee or you're a close one. Business, that's not the thing. I think the real ghost of salary is against entrepreneurship. It's how much you can decouple your working hours from your income. I repeat, the spectrum of entrepreneurship. It's how much you can decouple your working hours from your income. Being an employee is in today's world, and that's your case. I promise you there's a 99% chance that your income is extremely correlated to your working hours. And that really, whether you're an employee, whether you're freelancing, entrepreneurs, if this is your case, it's a huge issue. Your career plan must radically change. And I think this video, it will help you. However, I am obviously not here to tell you, yes, you should not study, should not become a salaried employee, you should start your own business, degrees are useless and all that. No. Again, when I say employees, I'm not talking about any legal status. There are people who are legally employees but who are very well paid, who don't work that much and who take a lot of pleasure. Conversely, there are freelancers who outsource. At least a lot of someone of a person and who aren't paid that much for like 40 hours per week. He's always the same. He's not to become an entrepreneur or to leave the salary. The goal is always to make as much money as possible for the purpose, for the least amount of unpleasant work time possible. In this video, you see me talking about wage earners. I talk about 99% of wage earners, but that's not the case for everyone. I mean, there are wage earners who are directors of big companies making $5,000 a month who receive dividends. They manage more than what they generate. That is commissions. They manage their own sectors like a small business they are trying to grow because they will be paid for it as they get bigger. It's a lot like entrepreneurship. It's not the same as, say, the employee who works at McDonald's or even the video editor who is technically an entrepreneur. Oh no, but it depends on the YouTuber. Or his working time is directly related to what he does in there. I see you coming. You're gonna tell me, yeah, but Loann, you say that, but you also have editors. No, it's not the case of my editors. They are doing very well to work with me. I'll get back to this a little later in the video because their situation is exactly the right one. Even being a YouTuber and being very well salaried in a way. Like, you know, you're a YouTuber, you depend on a bunch of YouTubers. You rely on the algorithm, you rely on the fact that you can't make the videos you want. You have to make the videos that appeal. It's a bit too much my case, that's why I'm trying to create my own products. In order to create some kind of Loann LV brand and to maximize my income as much as possible. Now let's look at the pros and cons of being an employee and an entrepreneur. Firstly, the advantages of being an entrepreneur. Firstly, profit. You earn more. That's the notion of profit. Profit is directly related to the notion of the boss. Only when it works well, of course. If it doesn't work, you're not making a profit, you're at a loss. I know very well that this profit thing, it's very controversial. That is a whole political issue. I don't know if I'm very politicized. I would say that I am a minimum. It's the same for everyone, but for me, of course, there needs to be profit. It's the entrepreneur who sows the seed. It's him taking the risk. Of course, it's him. Those who hire employees, they pay them less. If the employee generates 5,000, they shouldn't be paid 5,000. They should be paid less so that the entrepreneur can recover of profit because he's the conductor. He's the one who tells the employees what to do. That determines the profit. The percentage of what the entrepreneur takes compared to what the employee generates. Well, it's quite simple. From the employee's task and also who can do it, how essential and interchangeable the employee is. For instance, if you can't change the video editor easily, you better pay them super well to keep them. I don't know, generate you 150 euros on a video, we'll pay him 120 euros. Here the profit is clearly ridiculous. However, a cashier, the example of cashiers, it is often used. Politically speaking, look at how the profit has been abused, the cashier is saved. Pay even not 5% of what they generate. Meaning that hiring a cashier brings a supermarket 20,000 euros and she is paid 1,000 euros. It's outrageous, it's not cool. It's a point, but it's not the only factor to consider. Consider who would be willing to do it, who could change. And the truth is, if the cashier refuses to work, well actually there are others who can work in her place. It's supply and demand really. However, I hope a director of a big company is to think that He may be paid 70% of what he generates because the aim is to grow the company. Maybe he gets dividends, so he will be even more involved. He will work a lot because he generates more, because it's tough to change it, so he gets paid more. That's logical. Second argument in favor of entrepreneurship obviously is freedom. Same thing again, it truly matters when the company is doing well. Freedom is the ability to get up whenever you want. You're not an employee, you can get up whenever you want. You can work from home, you don't need to be physical. In your company, huge advantage on the entrepreneurial side, the biggest one if we ask. Third advantage of entrepreneurship, no need for university. I think it's a very, very good argument. I mean, if you have a successful business, you normally don't need to get degrees. Lead stuff, things like that, you don't need to go to college. Far be it from me to want to crash on college, but it's kind of crap, so if we can avoid that, well, it's cool. So a point in favor of entrepreneurship. Now we're going to move on to the benefits of being an employee. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of the benefits of being an employee is that your salary is simply your profit. You don't have any expenses for your company and your boss pays everything. You're paid 2,000 euros a month and well, you have a profit of 2,000 euros every month. That's your profit and that's cool. It's really the profit you can directly spend. You don't have notice to pay on it. You can live your life. You're happy, you're well. You can even invest it directly on the current heritage. The fact that your salary do not move and that you're sure that it will fall, it's a crazy argument. And second big argument of the salary is that after 6 p.m. there's no more. The job's done after 6 p.m. You don't have to think about your company anymore. You don't think about your company on the weekend. You do your 35 hours and that's all that's asked of you. You're paid for that 5 contracts. Not having this mental burden that the boss has, I find it a huge advantage in favor of the employee. And that's it. For me, there are really only these 2 advantages to being an employee. I really don't have any others and the rest is just disadvantages. Because I know one can very well tell me, yes, retirement, social benefits, we live in France, we get 5 weeks of paid vacation every year, 5 weeks paid. I don't find it an advantage. In fact, I don't want to be pessimistic, but well, retirement, I'm not sure you need it. So for me, it's not a crazy argument either. The social protection. In addition, all this, the entrepreneur, though, also since he has the money, since he has a successful company, it's not an advantage. So I would say it's even a disadvantage, the fact that you only have 100 weeks of paid vacation per year, because the successful entrepreneur, again, he gets them whenever he wants. Complete social protection at minimum, the entrepreneur. If the entrepreneur is very rich, he has money. Everything he wants to. And similarly, we're going to talk about security. Same, I don't really find that good argument that yes, you have your employment, sure you earn less, but hey, you have your degree, you have your thing, it's guaranteed to have your salary, you're guaranteed to have your job. It's good being an employee because it's about safety. It's really a crazy argument. We often say this in opposition to launching. Your business is risky, you're not sure to have a salary, you can be in loss, it's dangerous. Whereas when you're an employee, you're sure to get your salary. The truth is, I never understood why we say that's because it's false. The truth is that being an employee and being an entrepreneur is as risky as each other. In the sense that on one side, if your boss goes bankrupt, you don't have a salary, you see. There are risks. The employee takes the same risk since he's in the same box. It's just that the responsibility load goes to someone else when you're the employee. It's you who take the risk when it's you who's the employee. You're the one who gives the risk to the entrepreneur. And they'll tell me, yeah, sure. But what I want to say is that you can directly find a salary job. You've been fired from your box because it was liquidated, it went bankrupt, something like that. Now you can find a job easily because you have your degree. But I'll say something. The boss can also find a salary job even more easily, for instance. I know that if my channel doesn't work, moreover, if I make more money, I'll find a salary job at 2-3 cases per month, but easy. The skills I've learned in copywriting, in management, in knowledge, from YouTube in a very broad way. Well, if the goal is to be an employee with 2 or 3 cases per month, I am, but in the week, like I really know deep down that I will never need to resume my studies. I literally have no need, because if I do a backflip to win 3 cases a month, well, I can directly do it right now, you see, except for medicine. If one day you see me going back to studies, it will be for medicine. Because indeed there is a need for a degree in medicine. It's to become a doctor and everything. And I think maybe this is something I'd really like to do. And all but now with my experience, my CV, my knowledge, my skills, I don't need the degree to earn, to make money. Like really for me, then the employee is full of benefits and I am really for hell. I really think entrepreneurship is better since there's that, but you have very little decision-making power. You don't decide how you're going to steer the company. It's you who obeys what you have to do. It's not very fulfilling. You're fulfilling, but reaching the top of Maslow's pyramid, you feel a bit unfulfilled. That's the thing. Maybe at the beginning you worked well in your company, but it quickly becomes repetitive. It's pretty boring quickly. Maybe you have ideas that the company won't listen to anyway, because it's not the purpose of your life. Just listening requires you to do what you have to do. You're always aware there's a literal glass ceiling above your head. You'll never surpass a certain salary. At some point you won't progress anymore. Or it's very hard to progress, you know. You get raises every year, but they're not even enough to cover inflation. You see, like it's rubbish really. And to go back to the video editor example, is us, you see, it's mediocre, for example, video editing. When you're a video editor, especially for YouTubers who are all tight-fisted, sure, you're scared, freelance entrepreneur. But actually, no, it's almost disguised employee in the sense that YouTubers in general do not befriend their editor, does not give them this perspective of evolution of, yes, okay, as soon as my channel grows, if you will be increased by that, it doesn't exist. Among YouTubers, it's the same rate all the time. And if you're not happy, it doesn't matter. We remove you, we take another. You're interchangeable. I had already heard a YouTuber say that. It's a horrible sentence, but it's true about the editors of YouTubers. For the majority, and actually, I had already heard, we need potatoes, but we don't need farmers. Basically, what does that mean? We compare the mechanics to farmers, we put them parallel, and that farmers are the job that is necessary. People are committing suicide more and more. Why? Because we need potatoes. Problem with the market is that such farmer wants to sell his potatoes to Leclerc for 3 euros per kilo, because if he wants a decent life, that's the price he must make. Except that Leclerc will say, well, no, go screw yourself. Look, there's this other farmer over there who did it for 1 euro, so they will go see the other, and then the other will have to align with the rates. No, farming is quite horrible, and I found it very bad and healthy to compare it with video editing in the sense that, yes, it is useful. YouTubers need to have editing on their videos, but they don't need editors. I find it terrifying that today, for a lot of people, being an employee means no progression. Everything is too much in the employer's favor. We can't let them dream. Imagine a perspective of progression. There is no goal, so it obviously leads to burnout. I mean, when you do the same action all the time to make someone's thing grow, and in return you're always paid the same thing, it leads to burnout. Of course, it also leads to poorly done work, rushed. You're not proud of what you do. You do the bare minimum. For me, a successful business-wise company, it pays a lot. It distributes dividends to its employees, for example. It pays for comfort assets by itself. Of new chairs, new software, the stuff, they pay for them themselves. And as said, since you have no decision-making power, if you work for a bad company, a company that does evil and well, you still have to do your job, and it's nice to help the employees at McDo. And yes, now we're going to talk about good and evil. It's going to be very, very Manichaean, you'll see, but we're going to use the Kant's definition that I like a lot. What is absolutely right and what is absolutely wrong? Kant's definition is great. It says, what I do becomes the norm worldwide. If this way of acting, this way of paying people, this way of producing becomes the standard worldwide, how is the world doing? If yes, then it's absolutely good. If not, then it's absolutely bad. You know, sometimes we can lie to hide the truth for the good, you see. And the question will be, okay, I'm going to lie for such objective because I know it will be positive in the end. However, is it that if what I was about to do was the norm worldwide, that's all? If you did what I was doing, would it be good? Yes, no? Well, that's what defines what is good or bad. And every society, every company can be classified into it good or bad, that are bad. Like McDonald's, I would definitely say bad. If all the restaurants in the world applied McDonald's economic logic, even better. If all businesses applied McDonald's economic logic, gastronomy and everything, the world would obviously be worse off in contrast to much more ethical software companies, creators, I don't know, editing software or AI subscriptions or gyms, this sort of things which bring more potential. There's a lot of negativity, sure it costs, but in return you get quality service. And I know you might think, no, look, there are businesses like Evian. Evian is neither good nor bad. Evian is what it is. In fact, if you look closely at each company, you can always find profitability logics, marketing in a sense, perhaps lying sometimes, but on the other hand, good product. There might be something that's good for health, maybe good for the environment. You can always universally categorize something that's good or who is wrong. And the worry is that when the employee decides to do nothing, if they are in a company that does wrong, they are in trouble. And that's the case for most companies. The problem with American-style corporations that have a very, very imperialistic perception is that these companies possess a mentality that I would say corrodes about 99% of the businesses mentioned today. This is the phrase business is life. The phrase in business that says in all cases business is business. What matters most is profitability, regardless of the goal is to be always more in the profile very objectively. And it's the case for really all companies. This is dangerous and this can be turned against you as an employee. And when I say employee, I'm speaking of an employee. Of service providers, all that I'm talking once again, not about a legal thing, because the goal of this company is to become rich on your back, regardless of your mental health state, regardless of how you feel, regardless of who goes in your life. No matter your working comfort, the goal is to make as much money as possible. The most important thing is always the more profit possible. And I would go even further. I would say that all decisions that are in the DNA of the company, all decisions that are made for your mental health, for your comfort of life, of your physical health, it's always with the objective of making more profit. Because the logic is that, yes, you have a better mental health, so there's less chance you'll leave. There's less chance you'll end up depressed. To take lots of vacations, so you're going to work more, so you'll make more profit. They will not make a move just for your comfort if it costs them more than what it brings them. I'm very serious for most companies, like 99%. That's why I say that salary is bad. It's because salary is bad in 99% for your boss. And that is the case for almost all bosses if your living comfort and your mental health are not worth it. Don't invest money in it, because this comfort will generate less money than it invests. It won't do anything in your favor. The company is just going to squeeze you like a lemon. Are you helping now? A sufficient number. Level of salary, work enjoyment, life comfort, all of that. But it's enough so that your employment isn't negative for them. Not negative so that your employment isn't even not. I swear it's true. Most companies prefer you to generate 5,000 euros in profit while depressed rather than 4,500 in good health. That's the problem with most societies. Profit always... This is the most important. I'm talking about profit. They're not in the negative. It's 5,000 on one side, 4,500 on the other. The goal is always the most money. That I would like to point out in this video. The big problem with salaried work is that this is the case in all companies. I know very, very few companies that don't only have profitability in mind when they take actions. It hardly exists. If they hire employees, it's only to make more profit. There are quite a few companies that will consciously face an employee and consciously say to themselves, I can charge this service for $50 because a lot of people can perform this service for $50. and I can interchange the guy. However, no, I'm not gonna do it because he's loyal, he's a service provider who has been working with me for years. So for him, it won't be 50 euros, it will be 100 euros for the same service. Because it's true, he has a not easy job and it's to reward him because he deserves it, because he's a good one. Even though I could charge it less to another guy, to another interchangeable editor, I could and anyone would accept. That's the hell of being an employee. That's the problem with employees is that companies take advantage of you, they use you, and they throw you out as soon as they no longer need you. And that's why I say wage earners, because indeed I'm not only talking about wage earners from the start, you have understood well. However, it's the case for 99% of the employees, because it's the case for 99% of the employees. Percent of companies with this lifestyle, you know it as well as I do, and especially in France, and very reduced to do even 2,000 euros per year, and 3,000 euros is pretty much mission impossible today. Businesses are too capitalist. The notion of profit is too present in favor of bosses. The concept of your mental health is non-existent, and we can say that it's very unfortunate. We can make memes about this. There are people who understand this very well and fight. Politically for this, who are protesting, who often are, who are a bit depressed smokers and stuff like that. Some kind of doomer of the world of salaried workers and all. However, there is a solution to this. A solution that is not political activism. A solution at your level, at the individual's level. Employment as experience for everyone. Your own business. This is the only way to conceive salaried work in 99% of companies. And yes, again, I'm not just talking about salaried work, I'm talking about salaried service, all that stuff in short when you depend of a main company and that your salary is completely correlated to your work time. This is your case. So really, at most, just try to use your salaried experience as experience to change company. Quickly climb the corporate ladder in many companies. Never stay in a company for more than 2 years. Travel left and right. Gain as much experience as possible. To grab as many networks and contacts as possible and ultimately to launch your own thing. And now what I'm saying here, it pisses people off. The bosses. If you are an employee who has entrepreneurial ambitions, it's annoying. Your boss, I'm telling you, and the boss will want to discourage you. Even the society in general will want to discourage you from doing it. Your boss will not hesitate to go see the other employees. From the box to watch him, he does that. On the other hand, it's not good. It's extremely risky. Don't do like him. You'd better invest that time in the business because you earn. It's not true anymore, but the boss will say that because he doesn't want the employees to break away. You see, it's logical, and from one side, it's super understandable. The boss doesn't want the employee to leave. You have to recruit. You see, you have to replace him. You have to train a guy. It's annoying. The employee during the entire period when he's going to leave just before, well, he's less committed. He gives more to the company. He does the minimum. He does his 35 hours and that's it. So it's not great for the boss, but on the other hand, you also have to be realistic. The boss most of the time is not altruistic. As I said, the most important for him is all about making as much profit as possible at the expense of your mental health. And if the boss is altruistic, well, it's very rare. And that's my mentality. All the guys who work for me, I try to involve them as much as possible. Maximize, give them shares, increase their salary with seniority, with the fact that they're very good at editing videos, with the fact that they're editing videos a video longer than the others. They're all giving their all because it's also their project. Now, my 100,000 subscribers trophy, I'm going to split it among all my editors. I'm going to saw it. I'm going to send each of them a piece because it's also theirs. It's also thanks to them. It's really because they feel that this is their own project, because that way they give their all. And yet, despite all of this, despite all these advantages compared to other employees, if despite all this they have a side project, my editors want to open their channel or even don't want to work with me at all, well, I'm not going to give them a hard time because I understand them and I might have done the same. I'm not going to discourage them. I'm not going to tell them not to do it. On the contrary, it just creates resentment when they will. If they succeed, they'll hate me. No, if they leave, they leave. You have to encourage them. I think if they have a side project, if they're less committed, naturally you can't pay them as much as those who are less committed. But ultimately, you have to create a value scale. You have to make it so that the more you invest, the more you are paid. The guy isn't an employee, he's a contractor, he has no obligation, but well, I would still suggest agreeing with him if he has a side project on a minimum video quota to fill in for me, because obviously you're not going to stay on the team because you're not uploading anything anymore, but that's it. And I invite all my editors, you who are listening to me, you're the one editing the video. I hope you're doing well. I wish you as much success than me. The best will be with me because my company structure allows it, because there's really no glass ceiling for you. You've seen it from the start. With all the increases, as soon as I make more money, I increase you, but if my editors want to succeed as much as me without me, well, tough luck for me. I can find them of auto assemblers. I can train them, and in reality, it's not the least. Not even for me, I'm not going to discourage them. However, for all the others, all the people who are employees, you are in a glass ceiling with no prospects for growth. So get as much experience as you can and start your own business on the side where you're paid what you're worth, and then leave when your business takes off. Don't let life or a boss walk all over you. Think of yourself first. Because your boss won't do it for you. Your boss wants your happiness, yes, but as long as it suits him. As soon as it goes a bit against his profit, there it won't at all. I hope you enjoyed the video. I thank my friend Matteo who gave me the idea to make it. I invite you to check out his channel. If there's one moral to this video, it might be altruistic, be generous as a partner, but also as an employee, and for that I recommend a video that explains the importance of being generous in the world of business. Subscribe to this channel. It's a win-win for you and for me. I send you kisses.